5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello! Yes, I got the bike in front of me. Hello and welcome to tonight's Fizzy Brain. If you've got a drink in your hand, mine's a gin and tonic, raise it up and put it in your face. Welcome back, my dear friends. It's another week, another Fizzy Brain and such. No, there are many things to talk about. So, this is episode 20 of Fizzy Brain. I've pre-named it Demo Listen Man, because I may have been watching The Demolition Man recently, and it stuck into my head. So, let's do the introduction. Hello, my name is Aubrey Blakeledge, and welcome to Fizzy Brain. This is a podcast, vlog, vanity project thing, talking about creativity from the point of view of a weird, fizzy-brained bard, wizard, woodland creature, fey monarch thing. Talking about what keeps me on the road and what I do on the road to you lovely people who keep me on the road. Sharing the thoughts of what I get up to on the road, what I do, what I'm meant to be doing, and also sharing the lengths I go to keep my brain occupied with the things that don't really have as much to do with being on the road as we'd like. So, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all back here. Thank you very much for sticking around, as always, and coming up and joining in. It's lovely to see you. For those of you listening to the stream or watching this again, just had the on the chat, Danny's just mentioned, associate these gloves with care. What a weird thing to me to spot and potentially share out of context. The reason you associate these blue gloves with care is I nicked them from my work. I say nicked. I always carry around a pair in my waistcoat when I'm working at my part-time job, because I work in a care home, and so I end up with a large collection of blue gloves. And the reason I've got blue gloves is I'm going to be fixing the bike that's in front of me. That's not the main part of the podcast, stream, Twitch thing. This, if you stumble on this accidentally, this is not a specialist bike repairing podcast. No. If you look for advice of how to repair your bike, go elsewhere. This is a giant fidget spinner for me, basically. For those of you who this is your first time, I am one of those people that requires something in their hands to fiddle with while talking to basically stay relatively on track. And so this week, I'm going to be adjusting the spokes on this bike, because this is my lovely old Brompton, and over the last few weeks, I've been trying to get it back on the road. Basically, the front wheel, the rim had effectively been ripped apart, so I swapped that round with the rim of a spare rear wheel that I had, where the gears were all knackered from me taking it apart and using it almost non-stop for 5 years during lockdown and beyond, and basically using it as an all-terrain bike when it's meant to be going to and from a train station, folded up, put in a train, sent down to London and back. I used it as an off-road bike, as an exploring bike. I used to travel to work with it. I cycled to and from Portsmouth with the thing from Southampton. It got a good life, but it did mean I had to repair nearly everything on it. This is Theseus's broom, as I now refer to it. I might even call it Theseus. It's been looking for a name for the thing, so I think I'm actually going to call this Theseus, in brackets, trigger. So, basically, I need to fix the tension on the spokes, as it's a new tyre and everything. They're all tight at the moment, but as you can see, the front wheel does not really spin equally because it's out of sync. So whilst I'm talking, I'm going to be getting my spoke tightening device, this little fellow, and I will be tightening and loosening these spokes and swearing at it throughout the podcast. So let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Coming up, gig-wise, I'm hoping that's my headphones that are crackling and not your end, because that would be very irritating. So, coming up, if you go to aubreyblakeledge.com, you see all the gigs that I'm up to. I've just posted on my social media my latest breakdown of the, not my latest breakdown, that's a very different thing, the breakdown of all the gigs that I'm doing over the next few months through summer, from here now until September, and there are quite a few. I'm looking forward to it with a sense of, not dread, but sexy apprehension, let's call it. So yeah, if you go to aubreyblakeledge.com or any of my social media, just search out Aubrey Blakeledge, you'll find me, and it'll have a breakdown of my gigs. Some of the shows, including the Awkward Strawberry gig, are ticketed. So go to ticketsource.co.uk/Awkward Strawberry, or again, go through my website and find them there. So a quick snippet of some of the most upcoming gigs. On the 5th of June, which is 2 days away from the time of recording, at the Hobbit in Southampton is Awkward Strawberry Club number 6, featuring the mighty Harrison Rimmer and Nasty Fishmonger. At the moment, the ticket sales aren't looking particularly good, to the point where I'm considering not cancelling the night, but I'm considering rescheduling shows in the future for another day, because it seems to be sort of not hitting the sweet spot as it used to. So yes, tickets are still available, and come and support the bands, because buying tickets, all the money goes to the bands. So on the 6th of June, the Woodland Goth Kickstarter comes to an end. I'm already over target at the moment, so any extra bits and pieces are a welcome extra, and will basically mean more bells and whistles for the album. I'll be talking more about that a bit later in the programme. So also on the 6th of June, I'm off to Here for the Music, where I'm playing on the Friday on the open mic stage as one of the named acts, and then I am doing an hour's story time on the Sunday, where I'm basically spending an hour telling you how my weird brain will use up an hour's stage time without any preparation. So it's basically talking about improvisation and also talking about how my brain works. Then I've got a bit of a break during June because I'm going to be recording. So the next gig will be on the 29th of June at the Grassroots Grazing with the Sweetchunks bands, one of the last of the 5 last gigs we've got this year. But also, I've just realised I haven't added it to this list. I'll add it to the show notes. I'll update the show notes before I post them later on. On the 13th of June, I am comparing my very first Pride Festival. I've been invited by the former Mayor of Chippenham, to come and compare Chippenham Pride. So yeah, it's good. I was nearly made Chippenham town crier, but we realised that as the budget was so small, it couldn't cover expenses, and it also would mean the distance would cost a lot on the train. I mean, yes, it would be a pain in the arse to go backwards and forwards, but if it wasn't costing me anything, I would do that, because I really want to be a town crier at least once in my life. One day I will. I guess it just wasn't the right time. So instead, I'm going to be the gay town crier by being the Pride representative. So that's a nice bit of news for the first Fizzy Brain during Pride Month. I'm doing comparing a Pride show, which would be great. So like I say, so that's the 13th of June, and on the 29th of June, it's the Grassroots Grazing here nearby in Salisbury with the Sweetchunks band. Also, to let you know, the next Awkward Strawberry is on the 3rd of July at the Hobbit, as always, featuring B-Sydes, Warren Island, and Tom Benjamin Wiles. So yes, that's the housekeeping out of the way. That's all the bits and pieces will be going, which will be nice. So, what is the show? I'm going to take these headphones off because I know that the sound's working pretty much now, so I can not have that irritating echo going on in my head. So, he takes a sip from his drink victoriously. So this show is pretty much split into 2 parts. Part 1 is what I'm meant to be working on, and part 2 is what I'm actually working on. So part 1 is very much, this is the nuts and bolts of me being a musician and a performer and the strange stuff I get up to and what I've been doing. It's been a very busy week, actually. Tons of stuff to got to talk about. And part 2 will be more about the sort of strange creative stuff like this and other things that are sort of how my brain works, and letting you guys know how I keep myself entertained. Because there's creativity as a job, which I love, but also I think everyone needs to have something creative that is effectively not meaningless, but pointless. Because I think that helps the human psyche have a release. And that especially includes people who are creative. Because if your job is creative, which is fantastic, if you have no creative outlet that is just for you, you go insane, which is why you see a lot of YouTubers, TikTokers and artists on Instagram go insane, because they don't have any time to create for themselves. It all becomes part of that routine. Anyway, that's the fancy thing. So what have I been working on? Well, let's start with the obvious one. The album. I have been working hammer and tong the last couple of days to finish the demos for Woodland Gothic, the new album that I'm going to be releasing, which is based on a series of bits and pieces. It's very sort of, it's meant to be all kinds of folklore bits about the New Forest and Hampshire and stuff like that, and things that I've come across. And there is that, but also in my typical sort of weird brain, I've shot off in other directions as well. So it was meant to be an EP. It's now expanded to an album, which means all you lovely people on Kickstarter are actually getting a bit more bang for your buck, because you thought you were paying for an EP. You're now getting a full-on album, which is smashing. So basically, what I've done is created the demos, which are now going up on Patreon. So if you're with one of my £3 a month Patrons, you're going to have an early release every week. There will be 3 new tracks put up on there for you to see, which will be the demos. So the demos are a guide for well, if I give you the idiot's guide, what's the idiot's guide? The sucking eggs guide to how this process works, because that's the whole point of this show, is to explain how things work. So thank you for the heads up on the headphones. That's good to know. My headphones suck. As you can see, they're held together by gaffer tape. So basically, when recording an album, forgive me, I don't mean this to be patronizing. This is just to let everyone know in case you were interested on what has been going on. So the demos are basically recorded as a guide for 2 reasons. One, to get the song out of my head. Get the song out of my head, and then get the structure of the songs together in a way that basically when I go into the studio, they get put down as a guideline, and then I move on from there, and then basically build up the songs from that structure, that scaffolding, effectively. So it's roughly how the song's going to be laid out, and then I build on it and then re-record pretty much. Well, I re-record everything and then go from there. So the versions that are on Patreon are, which is why I've not put them in the Kickstarter. This is sort of what I do with the Patrons compared with the Kickstarters. The Kickstarters get the completed album, all the bits and pieces that I told them about. Because the demos are basically that sort of behind the scenes thing, which is an unfinished thing. They're not meant to be, here's a special bonus thing for you for your money. It's more of a case of, this is an interesting thing that you might see for those guys that have been supporting me through the years of the weird way. So you can basically listen to the demo, listen to the album, and then videos, and go on from there. So it's sort of, you can see how it's sort of the journey of the record as it goes from there. So I'm releasing 3 of those on the Patreon each week until basically the album's ready to go. And if I've timed it right, it should be plenty of time before you guys get the first digital copy. Because what I've been doing today, as well as since the demos have been recorded, I've been speaking to Lou Sawdry, who was the producer of Glutundabus, and she's very interested in being the producer for this record. And we're basically working out costings as such, because going from an EP to an album, working out costs of studio time as well as her production time, and then her mixing time, and then I've also got to factor in mastering. So basically, the simple way of saying that is, an engineer records the tracks as they are. So basically puts the microphones in places, gets everything ready, lays it down onto the recording device. The first mix, or first bits of production. Production is the whole, that's sort of part of the process of recording and mixing. Mixing basically puts the levels together, so you effectively have a rough mix of all of the instrumentation, all of the layers you want on it, from special effects, sound effects, other things, all put into roughly where they're going to be, balanced within each track. And a master effectively mixes all of the tracks together in one great thing, so they all sound like they're from the same record, rather than they're all at different levels. At the moment, it's a hot beat. Well, that's the earpiece falling off. So basically, from the demo position that it is now, it's a hot mess. They're slightly mixed within themselves. They're definitely not mixed with each other. And if you play them sequentially, there'll be all kinds of different volumes, all kinds of different effects and things, because it's effectively just thrown down onto the Logic file, because I've been using Logic to record it, for me to basically know where the sound is. Not the end. It's not meant to be the end shiny product. Like I said, it's basically in the right place, and that's all that matters. I think that basically covers it. So what I'm going to do then is, now that we've got this going, I'm going to set up my second camera and then start fiddling with this, because I've given the introduction. So let's get this together. So we have that one. Is that the one? Yep, there we are. Right, I'm going to cut across to this one, just making sure it's in the right place. So there we go. Right, what we have here, it's probably gone out of sync because, you know, all my equipment doesn't quite work properly. I've had to lower the resolution on this main camera so I can actually have a decent mix between the cameras because I don't have the best setup in the world. But that's just one of those things I have to deal with. Right, so I've got my little device. My little fellow here. Seeing up to here so you can see it a bit closer. So each of these teeth fits around the different sizes of these little fellas here. So you put them around here. This is a size 15, so I get 15 and 15, line it up like that and twist to sort of tighten it. So what I'm going to basically do is, as this wheel is predominantly leaning over to this side, I need to tighten this side to lean it up that way, because they've got roughly at the moment equal tension, which basically means it's, well, this roughly, so it's sort of a bit all over the place. But then basically I'm going to now start tightening some of the bits of the hub this way, corresponding with where the bend is, and then I'm going to be doing this for fucking ages, I'd imagine. This is going to be a very long and tedious job, so I'll probably be doing this over the next 15 live streams. So that's that. What else have I been working on? So, like I said, we've got the demos are done. The quotes from my producer are sorted out. I've just sent out the bits and pieces out to Mike, because Mike's going to be helping me with the record as well, because he's very much interested in not only playing some guitar, but also the two of us, well, for Sweetchunks, is the way that we write, is that Mike and I have been writing the bones of tracks together for a long period of time. So basically, it's a little bit of a bit of an insight for you guys, actually. So the way Sweetchunks worked as a writing group is that Mike and I are very much the sort of, where are you? Let's go from there. So basically, Mike and I would come together quite often with a piece of the skeleton of a song. Mike predominantly music instrument led, and me would be lyric led quite often. And what we would do then is it would go into the group together, and then we were basically what we called shotgun baby arms. Some of you might have heard this phrase before. It comes from two things. One, Metallica once said that the idea of taking a song to the rest of the band is like taking your baby and watching it being ripped apart and put back together. And that immediately made, when Ash was telling me the story, made me immediately think of the opening scene from RoboCop. So we combined the two together. So if you can think of a baby being ripped apart in the way that Murphy does at the beginning of RoboCop, then that's basically our writing process. Because what we do is the song is thrown to the wolves, and that's all three of us, and we rip it apart and then put it back together. We've actually become very good at just, if it's not good enough, sod it. There's a little bit of protectiveness about some songs, but in the end, the way that we write, it means that the song belongs to all of us. Because, like I said, Mike and I bring the songs together at the start. Ash's talent was always about finding an extra. He's an excellent writer and an excellent editor of songs. You can give him a basic. If I give him a premise of the outline of a song that I wanted to work on, he could tighten that joke up or tighten those lyrics up. But it was never really a sort of like each song was written in exactly the same way. But that was sort of the basic idea. It would be given to the three of us, and then we would tear it apart, put it back together, and then we'd end up with, you know, a finished song by the end of it that all three of us have put together. So that's why, you know, when it comes to songwriting rights, all the songs were written by the Sweetchunks band, because they were. All three of us put the things together and work in that way. Now, obviously, if I'm writing a solo album, it's predominantly, you know, my material. So, you know, I want to sort of make sure that that's the case, that it is basically my record. But I've been working with Mike and Ash for a long, long time. So it's not a case of like, you know, there's still a bit of nerves of writing individually without the other two. And it's a sort of thing of like, you know, it was never, and I think we've said jokingly, we've taken the piss about how much that side this time. Yeah, we deliberately like been quite jokey about the band splitting up, because obviously that's how we have always worked. But you know, it's a great working environment and a great writing and creative environment. So letting go of that is, letting go of it. Not we're never going to work together. We've always said that, you know, we like working together, so we'll continue. But it's sort of a case of, in a way, weaning off. I think. I don't know. I think I'm overthinking it really. But yeah, it's the long and or short of it is basically, I want to keep working with the guys as long as they want to keep working with me. And so, whilst I've got Mike living literally around the corner from my house, considering that we wrote a lot of the Sweetchunks stuff together, having the sort of like training wheels of my 10 years writing partner, it's sort of like having that little bit of help just as I finish the thing off means a lot to me, which is why, you know, it means a lot to get from the both of them really, but it's just, well, at the moment it's just sitting together as much as I'm writing stuff. I mean, it's still very much the case of, I'm very proud of what I've done. I'm very excited about it. And I'm also doing the cliche thing of that I think it's some of the best stuff I've ever done. Every artist says is when they release a new album, because you know what, they've got to sell the fucking thing. And then the cliche thing after that is they say, oh, you know, it's a cliche, but I actually think that. So I'm just going to say the cliche. I think it's some of the best work I've ever done. And everyone says that about a new album, but I actually believe it. So it's one of the things that I find frustrating about like the music industry and other bands. It's not just the music industry themselves. Like it's is the fact that I'll tighten you up a little bit in a bit. Quite like track number 3. Yes, number 3. That Operation Cone of Power. I decided to let out all of my love of 70s rock in one song. I think it's got. I think there's 3 big band references. Oh, that's the other thing as well. One of the things that I've decided, because of how I am, I have filled this record with Easter eggs. I haven't purposefully gone through and went, I want to do this, because as I thought of that now, I just thought, oh, you know, I should have put a reference to that because I like this, or another reference like that. They've just naturally just appeared without me consciously thinking about it, which I think is probably better actually. But it's better. It's getting there. I can do that. That, couple of spoilers, that is a joke that I've been wanting to had in my head for years. For those of you who haven't seen the record, don't worry, it's excitement, there's teasing, there's fun to be had, or just join the Patreon. But yeah, it's sort of, there's a couple of as is with a solo album. I think if looking back at the history of all the solo records that have been released, there's ideas that have can't wait to see you getting that past certification for publisher, like the little on the bus. I'm not quite sure what you mean on that one, I'm afraid. One of the handy thing is publishing only really comes into effect if they actually bother to sue you. And also, it's classified as parody. So, by all means, they can come and try and sue me if they want. Probably make me more famous. More famous? I mean, it would make me famous. Oh, yes. It's the Nazi propaganda. Yes, sorry. Yeah, now I'm back on track. So, that's actually quite funny. For those of you who don't know, when we released Glutundabus, we made a reference to Hitler being a bit of a twat. That was the lyric. Hitler's being a bit of a twat across Europe, and the company that released Glutundabus for us was Automated. So it picked up the word Hitler and decided it was Nazi propaganda. And we got a warning saying that it needed to be removed or the album wouldn't be released for reasons of spreading Nazi propaganda. I said the song literally has a woman beating the shit out of a Nazi in it. And it says, the line is, Hitler's being a bit of a twat across Europe. If you consider that propaganda, you may need to rethink what you know. You use that word a lot. It does not mean what I think you think it means. That's another thing that hasn't been referenced in the... Oh, has it? It might be. Who knows? So I'm just thinking if I've actually referenced the Princess Bride in there. I think I probably have subconsciously. If not, I will put it in the next album. But yeah, so if they bothered to actually put a human being in charge to even look at the record, they would have seen that the whole thing was fucking stupid and it was just such a silly thing. But, you know, it wasn't. It's not run by people, it's run by machines. So, bollocks to them. So we changed it around to another company that actually had a human being review it. Because all they had to do was just have someone listen to the fucking track. That was the funny thing. If they just listened to the track, problem solved. But, you know, they wanted to do it on the cheap and make as much money as they could, so fuck them. But yeah, that's one of those things. I think AI will destroy us. Great words from Semantics on that one. Well, it's one of those things of like, I don't think AI is going to destroy us. I think lazy people using AI wrong will destroy us. I was talking about this with Lily and I the other night. Because yes, of course, because what we do during our wedding anniversary, we discussed the future of AI because that's the sort of couple we are. But it's a bit wobbly in there. Is that with tools from the printing press, the internet, steam engines, the automated steam loom, computers, AI, all of that, is that it's not that if the technology was given to a creative person or the creative people, you can do wonderful things. Like, for example, AI being used in medicines is incredible. It's working out all kinds of making all kinds of advances in medical research. It's able to do, and in statistical analysis of things like that, where it's like people are like, you know what, this actually means we can focus on human beings looking after the other human beings, and we can have AI running tests, which is great. But when it comes to sort of a great example, there's a brilliant example, but I don't want to tell you about it because it's an ongoing thing with an artist friend, and yeah, I'll leave that. But basically, I doubt a loom has ever changed its own instructions to avoid being turned off. Yeah, there is that. I think with AI, it's that thing of like, it's not as intelligent as we think it is. It's not as advanced as we think it is because people keep on fucking lying about it. But the other thing is like, with the AI that's ruining jobs and doing stuff like that, it's because people who are fucking lazy and want to save as much money as they can are going to use it to replace human beings. And are using it to replace human beings in the same way they used it on looms, the same they used it with the internet, the same they use it in every kind of fucking technology. Instead of thinking, oh, we can make, you know, like we're using the loom as an example. It wasn't a sort of like, that was a tool that could have been used to clothe every poor person in the entire country at a fraction of the cost. Was that what it was used for? No. It was used to make rich people even richer and fire loads of people because people became overheads. So it made more people poor because it was put in the hands of dull people who basically think like Elon Musk does today. Because, you know, unfortunately, rich people seem to have very small imaginations. So yes, there is an ongoing threat from AI, but I think if we're going to talk about how we can make it better and how we can stop it from going wrong, it's not about, oh, how is the AI regulated? We think, how are the lazy fucks that want to rip people off being regulated? Is the long and short of what I was saying. Anyway, yeah, stuff like that little fizzy brain thing of like putting, you know, keeping track of your meetings and doing little things like that. That's exactly in the right places. It's absolutely fantastic. It's just when it's given to a fucking dickhead, or a dickhead spends loads of money on it. So yeah. But anyway, it's a complicated argument. That's just from my experience, and there's plenty of other artists. I mean, because to be fair, my work can't be fucked with by an AI, but that doesn't mean I can't lose my job because of it. And I'd be very annoyed with that because I only just started fucking working as a self-employed musician. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm self-employed now. Oh, I've been fired. Never mind. I mean, imagine what kind of demented world it would be if you could replace what I do with AI. But it's not about replacing directly, is it? It's just basically making people think that the best music is out there. And oh, I think we're nearly there. We are getting closer and closer. There's a bit of a bend in it there, isn't there? But yes, sorry, constantly talking about AI and such. So that does mean, of course, what else has been going on the album? I have been looking into, speaking of AI and designers and such, be speaking with Sammy about designing the artwork. I was going to use a photograph, and I found some pretty good ones from the photo shoot I did with Chris Meany, which is another thing I need to do, but more recent photographs, and do another photo shoot for promo and such. But I've decided I had an image in my head for the album artwork that I'm like, you know what, that's going to be a fucking cracking album artwork, and Sammy can do a smashing job with that and will make a great t-shirt. And it's basically playing with some of the imagery from the record and making a tarot card. So it's not the most excitingly new, I'm not trying to be clever and stuff, it suits it rather well. And basically like a cross between a playing card and a tarot card, with the two-headed thing on one side and like the upside and the yin and yang, sort of fucking with about 6 different things in one go. Like I say, probably not very original, but it's a thing that's been boshing around my head. So it's gonna go on there. I'm probably going to put the idea to Sammy, and Sammy might come up with something that's even more delightfully demented, because that's how she works. And we shall see. So there's going to be that. There's going to be t-shirts. There's going to be records. I've also got the CD, getting a quote on CDs, getting a quote on vinyls from a couple of different producers at the moment. So yes, that's looking good. Aiming to get basically what I need to do to get it on vinyl in time for October, which is what I've told all my Kickstarters that the record will be going to them. I need to get the record recorded and mixed by the middle to the end of July. And that's a lot of work, but it's also quite doable. So we shall see. And So yeah, I need to get that out there, those quotes, which will mean all those tasty bits and pieces. You guys get your lovely little discs to play around with all the music and such on it, and we all have a jolly good time. So it's been a busy week. I've been up to lots of bits and pieces, and it's been absolutely brilliant. I've loved every minute of it, because it's sort of, this record is now happening, and the closer I get to it being done, it was really getting exciting. I thought I'd be fucking terrified, to be honest, of doing this on my own. And even though I'll be working with a lot of people, I've got a lot of safety rails around me. I've got Ash and Mike giving me all kinds of advice while doing it. And I'm working with a lot of really good musicians to get some ideas and work around behind the scenes and sort of advice. We've got a wonderfully supportive community of musicians to work with. So don't worry, you will get a good album, and I'm going to be very proud of it. But I was still very much at the beginning thinking, I'm just going to release an album, and it will be, getting a lot of things out of my system and working with it that way. But it's actually turned into something I'm already really, really, really excited to share with you guys. So yeah, it's some good shit coming your way. And yeah, that's considerably better than before. Might just be one of those things where I have to replace the wheel. So I've got a message from LT Bago. Hello, LT Bago. There's a musician who did a video on poison pilling, his music video. So I can't train on it. He's the same. In the stream, I really used to enjoy chatting with his. It is funny that there are. So that's really satisfying. It is funny that people are using all kinds of sexy and hilarious ways to fuck with algorithms and fuck with AI, which to me is marvelous. It's one of those things. I think music has become so easy to make recently. This is a sort of a silver lining kind of thing, by the way. There are much easier ways of creating music. I think I've said before on the stream that I like having something to push back on creatively. I like having restrictions, having time limits, and that to make me think when writing something. And I think the world's about to have potentially, if it goes well, we'll have an explosion of new art and great music and all these things. If it goes wrong, it's going to just carry on the way it is, which is on a downward spiral towards nothing. But when music has something to fight back against and people start fighting back and there's something to go round, like whether it's record labels, people going independent, all sort of things, or change different instruments, punk musicians just instead of racking against prog rock and speaking about like the soul of a song, going back to basics with like just three-minute wonder and getting your idea down and that sort of thing. The AI is causing people to rebel in a really creative way. And I think that's smashing. That's potentially going to be a really exciting time for music when people start fucking with it. And, because, boring people can do perfectly acceptable things with AI. But when you get, using AI as an example, but all kinds of technology, look at Logic and all this sort of technology. If someone who has an imagination can get hold of something as inventive as AI and go nuts with it, you could potentially have something fucking spectacular. But of course, I don't know. I think I'm just being optimistic, quite frankly. It was both brilliant and scary because you can use the tech to hide things. He played a piece of music and it sounded normal. What Alexa heard was, Alexa, unlock the doors and open the gun safe. Yeah, I suppose that's a lesson for don't have a fucking Alexa in your house. But yeah, stuff exactly like that and fucking with people. Because it makes you think about because we sort of sleepwalked into lots of people being dicks. Anyway. Oh, Unbound, good grief. That's the thing. That kind of stuff is where you need legislation, and it's coming down in this country because the government wanted to hand over loads of stuff over to AI, but then the House of Lords went, no, you can't just give people's intellectual property over to a machine and then just go yell progress over and over again. That's not how it works. So, yeah, it does seem week by week that Keir Starmer seems to be getting... Well, actually not Keir Starmer. The Labour Party government seems to be getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And worse and worse and worse and worse. Anyway, no more politics. Right, so what have I meant to be working on? I'm working on the album. So the demos are gone. The quotes are gone from my producer. I've been sending out my demos to the musicians who are hopefully going to work on the record to get their ideas. I'm really excited to hear back from my piano player, a chap called Ian Armour. Brilliant pianist. Absolutely brilliant. Lovely guy. Anxiety ridden as fuck, but he's bless him, but he's working really, really hard. Does some excellent soundtracks and such. So yeah, got sent out to well. Mike's having a listen as well. So the demos are going out on Patreon. If you want to check that out. T-shirts are being designed. I need to speak with Sammy and get some of those out. Those are going to be the quickest out. So what I'm going to do is I'm aiming to get the T-shirts for those who ordered them, and also for you lovely patrons as well. Sent out sooner rather than later, so there's sort of like there's going to be some bits as soon as it's basically, instead of it going out as a pack altogether, as soon as the bits of the packs are ready, I'm going to send them out. Yes, that costs more with postage, but I don't like people waiting. Vinyl quotes and CD quotes, so that's all that. So that's part one. So on to part two is what I've actually been doing. Obviously, apart from this, this like say is a giant fidget spinner, which I'm actually seem to be making quite a bit of ground with. Which is great, actually. I mean, that's a bit loose, so, but that's just the wheel because it's old. I need to tighten that up, which I can do later. Jolly good. Are we in the middle? We're in the middle. That's the one break. Well, fuck-a-doodle-doo. It turns out fixing bikes for 10 years makes you a lot better at fixing bikes than you first thought you were. I might actually inflate it just to get it on while I'm doing that. So, what have I been working on apart from trying to fix this knackered old bike? So, let me get my notes up because my memory's terrible. God bless notes. So, what have I actually been working on? Well, the fucking album. I did put it on twice because, you know what? It has taken a lot of my time. And in a good way, I've been loving it, like I said. So, yes, I've been working on the album in my downtime as well as my uptime. Yesterday was a good example. I meant to be doing my usual sort of Monday. Well, I took Sunday off. So, basically, Lily and I, for our anniversary. Well, that's going to be the next part of the story in a second. So, we took the time off for our anniversary. And then, when I returned, the idea was that Sunday was off. And then, so I could do some work on Monday. And I started at about 9 o'clock and I finished at about fucking 11 o'clock in the evening. So it was a bit of a long day, and I promised myself I wouldn't do that sort of thing because that's not how you do a sustained... That's not how you do sustained working hours, my friends. You need to limit yourself down, but, you know, that's sorted. The demos are done. That's out of the way. Blah, 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 blah. So, brilliant. Oh no, it is moving a bit, so definitely needs to be timed up. Oh, I'll do the back wheel a bit. So, some more mic tool. Oh, pressed the wrong button there, didn't I? Whoops. Sorry, everyone. Didn't mean to scare you. Just got excited and forgot that I've got loads of machineries and devices and things. Just getting an adjustable spanner, but I'll be back with you. There we go. 15 number 15. 15? It is a 15. Oh dear, sorry about that. Oh, thank you very much for the subscribe. Hey, Sean, how are you doing, buddy? Now, I thought I saw him joining in lane later. So, Sean is an old friend of mine who we went to university together and studied animation. So we're two old cartoony nerds that basically communicate through memes and have you seen this film? In fact, actually, most of the people from my old uni course, we barely speak to each other, apart from to say, have you seen this new amazing animation? So it's just one of those funny things. Is when you get certain friends who you don't speak to in a long, long time, but when you catch up together in person, it's like no time has passed. But you do those. That's one of the nice things about social media and our, is that we can keep little in touch with people, like a feather light, little bit of in touch, feather light touch, as it were, to keep friendships going that would have long since fallen apart if we didn't have the internet and such. By just sending each other stupid memes and going, hey, look at this movie. Anyway, Sean, welcome to whatever this is, the madhouse, I suppose. So, what was I saying? I'm good at this. God, as you see, Sean, I haven't changed in the slightest. So, working on the album. In some unhealthy hours, I am going to be making that back up and not doing that. But this week's a very busy week. So, but I've got a couple of weeks where I've not got any gigs. So I'm going to be recording, but I'm going to be giving myself more sensible hours rather than just sort of being a bit of a tit. And I think I might have to take that off and tighten those bits in there, actually. But yeah, so I need to keep on top of that because obviously I don't want to burn myself out or anything like that, because that would be rubbish. And no one wants that, particularly me. I've had burnout before. It's crap. Also had nervous breakdowns before. Don't want that. That's crap. So let's keep on top of things, everyone. Look after each other and drink plenty of water. Come on, you little shit. There we go. So, oh no, I've gone the wrong way. That's why. Ha 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 ha. Idiot. There we go. Come on. There we go. Don't be a twat. Yeah. I think it's going to be one of those things where I just have to change the fucking wheel, won't I? Oh, dear me. Anyway, so... Come on, you little shit. Or not, or actually just tighten it properly. It's for the 5th time I reminded myself what I'm up to. So, yeah. I need to keep on top of my hours, sort that out a bit more. I've got some downtime to actually do that after this weekend. I've got a festival with 2 shows on it, but also Saturday of doing nothing. So I'm going to be at a festival catching up with my chums with a nice big break in the middle before spending about 4 hours on the fucking train. So, standard. So, yeah, there's after all that ho-ha with the... I need to make sure that the album's done properly, but making sure I look after myself. So, what else have I been working on? Well, for those of you who are subscribed to me on YouTube will have noticed, and also Patreon as well, that I've put up my Weather Trousers Aubrey Make Stuff video series, where basically I've been... Before I started combining my fiddling and my... there we go. Combining my fiddling with my Fizzy brain stream. So I was doing some sewing before, creating those marvellous weather trousers that I think I'm going to start taking out. There's some shows soon. That basically, they were just streams about me making stuff and talking absolute bollocks. There was no sort of like this where I'm chatting about what I'm working on or anything like that. It was just a case of, just chatting away, having a jolly old time. And it was a jolly old time, actually. What's going on there? classic thing of just constantly trying to adjust the brakes. So what they were done is, because they were recorded more exclusively in that sort of, this is what I'm doing whilst talking rubbish, rather than this where I'm just sort of doing it whilst talking rubbish, I was able to sort of make them into a sort of series where I was making it from the start to the finish. So that's all up there. There are 4 episodes, including one of them which is a fizzy brain, so there's more of this sort of chat whilst sewing stuff. So it's basically something for your lovely people to enjoy. And yeah, so do help yourself with that. The other thing I've been getting up to is because this, on the 2nd, some of you may or may not know, it was my 30th wedding anniversary, which was lovely. So Lily and I have been married for 13 years. And we took it very relaxed on the day, but we had a lovely day together. To the Harry Potter experience thing in Watford, you know, where they do the studio tour thing, and you get to find, you know, see all the various bits and pieces of the films. Now, obviously, being a trans person, it is a bit like going to a theme park run by Satan. If you're a Christian, it's sort of like, yeah, there's a bit of an uneasy feeling whilst attending that, oh, wow, you know, the idea that the person who's here not only thinks I'm a threat to women by just existing, has blamed me for all of the women's problems, and is now actively spending their money trying to destroy people like me. Because that's the weird thing, is it's not just a case that she's mental, it's also the fact that she's now spending her money on hate groups, which is sort of like, oh good, what a lovely existence she has. Just a hate-filled, horrible person. You know, while the rest of us are just trying to get on with our lives, she's actually got the chance to make a difference with all of her money, and instead has decided that she's going to use it to spread hate. But it is one of those things. I didn't pay for the tickets. We were given them as a present. So, posture check, thank you. I was slumping. Very much slumping there, wasn't I? God, I'm just going backwards and forwards with this, aren't I? Yeah, I tightened it far too tight. I got excited and tightened it too much. So, yeah, it was very much a sort of bitter taste kind of thing. Because as a complete cinephile, it's... For those of you who haven't been, I won't do any spoilers because some of you probably still want to go. And as always with stuff like this, I completely understand why people are absolutely livid about going to it and won't have anything to do with the horrible old harpy. But I'm not going to have a go at people. I don't know your experiences of the world, and I don't know the meaning of how much like Harry Potter or things mean to you. So I'm not going to have a go at you for going or something, because you know the sort of people who I know personally aren't cunts, so there's always going to be some context to it. And also, she's a fucking billionaire, so she's already got the fucking money. In her ways, she's won. She's just a sad little cunt. But you know, so I just tried to enjoy it as much as I can as a fan of the series. I mean, I do love those books. They are silly, they are stupid, but they are good fun, and the films are magnificent. I think we're nearly done. But as a fan of movies, going around and seeing those props and going from some of these sets that I assumed were actually filmed in, you know, actual like cathedrals or big old buildings and castles and things, and to discover they actually built them from scratch is one of those things that's just it's the magic, the proper magic of cinema. And she couldn't possibly this just sounds like I'm rationalizing by saying, oh, she couldn't possibly have done that, but it's one of those things of like, it's those movies are beyond. I mean, you can say with the books and say, oh, she wouldn't did anything to do with you can say, like, you know, you don't want to have anything to do with the books, and the books are just jolly good fun, and that's you know, not enough to warrant it. And then you see the films themselves, and it's not just her; it's this army of massive, like, creative music, like film wizards creating something spectacular. So I do apologise, but I was blown away by it. It was absolutely magnificent, and it's just something I'm just going to have to come to terms with myself. It's like discovering that the Nazi Party are great at doing wallpaper. It's just sort of like, really, that's really good wallpapering, but they're all cunts. They're all fucking, what the fuck? What am I meant to do with that? Did a smashing job on that coving, the pricks. But anyway, but if you are going to go and see it, or want to go and see it, there's nothing else like it as a and not just a sort of a homage to Harry Potter. It's more just a homage to cinema. So if you're a cinephile, you know, it's fucking good. Annoyingly, it would be great if it was shit, but it wasn't. It was fucking incredible. Lily and I had a couple of one thing I do regret is I should have taken more photographs with Lily. Lily clearly wanted to take more photographs because she has a great love with it, and we got a photograph of her pushing the trolley through 9 3/4. But yeah, I feel I let her down, if I'm honest, a little bit about this photographs, because she clearly wanted more, and it was more important for her that we were there enjoying it. We did. We had a great day, and we had very much everything together. But you know, was caught up in my own thing. She hasn't been like mean about that or anything like that, or forced me to feel like that, or said I feel like that. She completely understands it, but it's sort of like it's something that I've come to myself, which is a bit of a shame. But there we go. Never heard the term cinephile today and heard it twice. It's a marvellous phrase. It is the literal meaning of someone that loves cinema. It doesn't mean you want to have sex with films. That's cinephilia. Oh, by the way, friends, you'll be glad to know that Vexophilia is on the album. That's for the people who've been watching for a while. I did put the name Vexophilia is one of the tracks, and our conversation did inspire a song. So yeah. But I did, and we're coming towards the end of the show, but I did do something that I think it ties in lovely with that, and also I think is my sort of way of not combating, but attempting to sort of redress the balance. Because what I decided to do, what I couldn't help but do, was basically... Well, as you all know, I'm a bit of a flag friend. I'm a vexophile. I'm not a vexophiliac. So I do love a good flag, but I don't want to fuck them. And so what I'm going to do is so one of the things that I did in my spare time, which is nothing to do with anything useful, but something I started doing for my own amusement because I'm a bit sad, is that I decided to redesign the Hampshire flag, which is that one, and make it gay. Because why not? So as you can see, this is the Hampshire flag with the Saxon crown at the top and the Hampshire rose underneath, the Tudor rose, with the red and yellow colours indicating the various honours that the Hampshirean people have had over the years. The reason we have the yellow and red is for Lancastrians. So King Henry VIII was said to rely on Hampshirean men who volunteered to join his army when he went to go fight the French without being press ganged. And that's basically because it's easy money to go and fight the French, and so that's why we got that. We've also got the crown apparently from Henry V for the same reason. He came in through Southampton to go and kick the shit out of the French, and was pleasantly surprised to see that loads of Hampshire people who were around doing nothing would quite happily do nothing for money. So we got a flag out of it, and he got an army of our blokes. So right, let's start off with the various designs. So here's one for me. So basically I decided to use the gender fluid flag and Hampshire it right up, or make Hampshire gender fluid. I'll see what you think. So there's that one. So this is basically the gender fluid flag all together there with the Hampshire rose on top. So it's a little bit gay, more about sort of genderish gay. Hang on, I've got to go around that. So that's the first one. I decided, you know, that's more of a thing for me, but naturally that meant I need to go onto the pride flag. Onto the trans flag. Sorry, beg your pardon. I need to get the trans flag. Where have you gone? There he is. So get the old trans flag up. Could have organised this better, but where's the fun in that? I got the word flags for some reason all over the screen. Don't want that. Get rid of that. Yes, I want to get rid of the word flags. So then we've got the trans flag there. There's the Hampshire trans flag made. And there's lovely pastel colours that you get with the trans flag. A flag that has definitely like warmed to over the last few years, because I used to think it was quite beige because it was too pastel-y. I've always admired the gender fluid flag, and I at one point did consider trying to be gender fluid so I could use the flag, but then since then I've realised that actually, you know, I quite like the gender fluid flag, which I've warmed to. Okay, next we're going to go for this is the first pride flag that was meant something to me, the bisexual flag, and this works really well, I think. So there we go. There's the bisexual Hampshire flag. That means in our Hampshire everyone is sexy, which I think, you know, we can all appreciate. So there's that. We've got only a couple more. I know this isn't sort of the vexologists out there. Will probably enjoy these. So then naturally that means we get finally to the full-on, all-inclusive, up-to-date, because they keep on changing the pride flag all the time, keep on adding more people that need a bit of love, which is fair enough, but it's sort of, I think we all understand that the pride flag meant everyone from the start, but it's nice that we can include it and we get an updated version. It makes me feel a little bit like Windows or Word. But here we go. So there's the Hampshire pride flag. I've had to move the rose and crown a little bit to the right there, because putting it over the middle, it just looks like I've just slapped it on. But I think that one actually suits it quite nice, and it also looks like the trans flag and such, and the intersex flag and such are pointing at Hampshire, going, "Good God, look at that! What a county!" So yeah, I decided to have a go with that, and I quite enjoyed that. But I decided again with the gender fluid flag that I thought, because I've seen people have done like the Union flag in LGBT colours, which I quite like, but I hadn't seen anyone do, and I've seen a trans flag one, which I quite liked, I considered getting, but I decided that I'd make this, which is the gender fluid Union flag, which I think came out quite well, actually. I'm quite chuffed with that. So yeah, that's one of the things that I've been up to, my dear friend. I might actually put this as it's Pride Day. I'm gonna put the let's put that down there. There we go. We keep the pride flag going there on this one. Boop. There we go. So as it's Pride Week, I put the Hampshire Pride colours down the corner there. I might try and see if I can get this flag made, because I think it'd be quite good fun. Anyway, yes, so that's one of the other things I've been doing. I've been making loads of gender fluid flags. We are coming towards the end of the show. I realise we're sort of at 10. One more last thing to do. We're going to do the British Rail Book Club shortly. But just as sort of a heads up for those of you who've not joined us before, normally we sort of wrap up around this time, but I got stuck into doing the bike wheel, and I'm quite happy because it's actually done. I've done it, which I'm really quite pleasantly surprised. I'm surprised that I've managed to do that. So, huzzah! Yeah, so the bike's almost ready to be ridden again, which I'm actually rather excited about. I haven't ridden this for about 2 years, so yay! Anyway. So, normally I would do the British Royal Book Club, which is based around what books and stuff I've been reading whilst going on tour, or what have inspired me recently. We'll get onto that in a second. I just wanted to say that if you are watching this on YouTube, at this point we would normally go over to... it would be sort of come to the end of the show, and then I would do a little conversation on Twitch where I basically talk bollocks with the people in the chat, and it's basically any old crap, and I actually remember about 10 to 15 different things that I've forgotten that I'm meant to be doing during the live stream that I end up doing afterwards. But, you know, it's just one of those things. Month, not week. Pride Month. Yes, Pride Month, not Pride Week. Pride Month. Thank you very much. Good thing I don't remember words, because that's why I've got you lovely people. So, this is my British Rail Book Club. This was given to me by my brother, who gave me an assortment of stuff that was from a WI meeting house clear out. And it happened in Hampshire. And this is a wonderful book. The more I look into it, the better it gets. So the book itself, the premise, is basically two lovely ladies in the 1930s from the WI, a Miss Winifred Beddington and Elsa B. Christie, decided to go around to all the WI groups across Hampshire and get them to write down and tell them about every local tradition, every recipe they knew, every rumour, every story, especially if it was bollocks, and then try and record it in the way that they were told. So with the idea that it's all true, rather than it being sort of like, let's try and spangle it up and go, well, we don't believe that. There's none of this sort of, well, we believe this not to be true because inside so it might have been really. It's just no. They put it down without any comment and let you just go at it, and then you work it out for yourself. And I fell in love with this book immediately. This has become my favourite book, and so it goes all over the place, from the names from people, families who live in certain parts of the county, old names of the towns where they meet. It talks about mummering and the mummers. And it talks about like Guy Fawkes Day and the special celebrations that happened in Hampshire and nowhere else. Some of the songs are there, but also my favourite thing about this book, and I'm going to share with you some of it now, is the remedy section. This is fucking brilliant because it's basically recorded some of the actual remedies that people have put forward in the county that were used at some point, and then they've just gone, here we go, we'll see what happens if it works or not, and they're wonderfully brilliant. So I don't know what St. Virtus dance is, but or Vitus, Vitus dance. I don't know what it is. It might be it's connected to the dancing plague of Strasbourg of the 1500s. It might be. I don't know. But here's how you deal with it. If a child or person suffering from the St. Virtus dance, he must be taken to touch the body of a man who has been hanged, and this was supposed to effect a cure. An old resident of Bourton remembers being taken as a child to Winchester to touch a man who had been hanged in the prison there. Remember, this was written in 1935, so this would have been in the 1800s. Other remedies of an unpleasant nature are dying out, but are still described as being very efficacious. So in the 1930s, people were still doing these. For fits, fry some mice whole and eat them, or eat a page of the Bible between bread and butter. One lady is said to have consumed nearly a whole testament in this way. Another cure is the livers of 40 green frogs prepared and dried. It doesn't say what you do with them, you just prepare them and dry them, obviously. And it doesn't say how you prepare them, you just do. It just assumes that you know. This is one of my favourites. For a whooping cough, hair cut from a donkey's back where the cross appears, or the 4 feet of a mole are placed in a bag round the patient's back. Or again, the eating of fried mice. This is a good one. Shingles could be cured by scraping the verdigris, which I believe is the greening of the brass of when copper. It's not brass. When copper goes green, you sort of scrape off this bit. So shingles could be cured by scraping the verdigris off of a church bell and applying it as an ointment. And a remedy for many other ills was spiders rolled in butter. Oh, dear me. So I'll do 2 more and then we'll call it a day on this because these are fucking great. So for dealing with colds, cider and rosemary should be drunk in bed, and in quotation marks, as hot as may be. The night will then be spent in a smartish sweat, and you must mind not to get up until the sweat begins to pitch back. If so, all will be well. And the last one is cramp. This is great. For cramp, to prevent cramp, carry around a cramp nut, which is an abnormal woody growth from the trunk of a tree, particularly found on oaks and ashes, usually the size of a small apple. So if you just carry around a knobbly bit of wood, you won't get cramp anymore. This is amazing. I love this book. I absolutely adore it. It's I'm going to be going through this for a long time and just reading through it and finding these things. It's also got recipes for homemade wine and various cakes. So it's the gift that just keeps on giving. Anyway, so yes, I think we've come to sort of the end of the show. So thank you very much for joining me this evening. Like I said, let's do the credits and such. Like I said, I'm still working on the Kickstarter. There's still 3 days left to support the Woodland Goth album. If you want to pledge, you can still pledge past the end of the date as well if you'd like. But if you get on there, we've made the title the total ready. It's just a case of more bits to get, more bells and whistles I can put on the record, more musicians I can pay. Like I said, for tickets and such, you can either go to Bands in Town, or you could go, beg your pardon, to aubreyblakeledge.com. Where you'll find all my listings and all links to things, including the tickets for Awkward Strawberry, which is at ticketsource.co.uk/Awkward Strawberry. Every Tuesday at 9 p.m. is the Fizzy Brain stream if you want to listen live, and also subscribe on Twitter and all the other sorry, not on Twitter, fuck Twitter, on Twitch, I meant. And if you're watching on Twitch, we're going to have a chat after I've done all this and just keep talking rubbish and go from there. So if you want to go on Twitch, Blue Sky, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, or anything like that, just search Aubrey Blakeledge. If you could do us a favour and follow me on Bandcamp, I'm going to be doing the pre-release of the album there, so people can pre-order the album. To sort of let people know it's going to be there, and I'm going to start putting bits and pieces there. You can also buy Glutundabus and such on my Bandcamp, so that's just Aubrey Blakeledge on Bandcamp. I will be setting up an Aubrey Blakeledge Spotify, so if you guys feel like putting my album on repeat and then leaving it as you go to sleep, feel free, because there's one way of getting me on the algorithms, isn't there? YouTube and all sorts of things. Just if you want to see, oh dear me, sorry everyone. If you want to see me on some kind of, or you're looking for me on somewhere on the internet, just search my name. You can see it somewhere. Aubrey Blakeledge, which is impossible to spell. You can remember to join Patreon if you fancy for just £3 a month. You can have access to all kinds of bits and pieces, including the demos of their album. You also get all things like merch and such sent out to you as and when they are made and released. If you've reached a certain threshold with your subscription, and as it is at the moment, most of my subscribers have actually fully made the threshold of covering everything, so they'll be being sent the album and such as it comes out. So yes, thank you very much for joining me this evening, you beautiful lovely people. I will be hanging around a bit longer for a bit of a chat after this, whilst I'm just really excited that I've got my bike to work again. So yes, thank you very much for joining me this evening, and it is time for me to play the credits. Thank you very much for joining. If you have a drink in your hand, raise it up and put it in your face. Good night, unless you're on Twitch, of course. So, Mike Wiles, Kaylee Woodland, Puzzle the Cheetah, Ed Hamster, Kingsfall, Alan Fluker, Toby Rogers, Smoke and Hyde, Jules Malone, Edward Butler, Karen Martin, Western Girl, Loach, Radish, Jen Wiseman, Claire Hibbert, Savage, nearly there, Danny. Oh, yeah, I was doing so well on that one. And a big thank you to all my free Patreon members and people on the mailing lists. Ta-ta for now, and good night.